Well, a big hello and welcome back to the Blazor Puzzle, episode 76. I'm Carl Franklin from AppVNext. That's my friend Jeff Fritz from Microsoft, who has been busy like crazy getting his build demos ready.
So many demos. Lots of written content for folks to participate in, to check out. I'm writing demo sessions. It's going to be a blast coming up here in Seattle later this month.
And are you talking about Blazor in general, or, I mean, you're probably doing a lot of Aspire stuff, right?
We're going to be doing a bunch of Aspire stuff, and we're going to be using Blazor as part of those Aspire demos.
What do you say to people who ask you all the time, so why don't you use something other than Blazor?
Because Blazor is absolutely amazing for .NET developers. It runs quickly. You don't know that it's Blazor that's running, and I get to use the exact same code front to back throughout my entire application.
All right,
so
I think we're preaching to the choir out here, but anyway, let's jump into puzzle number 76. Roll the crazy music. Go. So what we got here?
So I have this README that I put together that I want to talk through, because we ask for folks to send us emails. Hey, do you have a puzzle you need some help with?
Right.
Or you want to try and stump the puzzle guys? So we got this little email. Yeah, look at this. My customer has two different environments, both in production and in development, that require two sets of JSON files for configuration. Right now, they're swapping file names in order to pick the environment. Is there an easier way?
Yeah, right. So by environment, we mean anything that would require two different sets of configuration. Like, you know, you're setting up a special version of your app on a particular server for a particular client, and they might do things a little differently. They might have different connection strings. They might whatever.
Yeah. You've got a different database connection string over here. You've got this running in a different region, and it needs to have a different configuration setting that's specific to that thing over there.
Now, the hard way would be to fork the code and to say, hey, if we're in this environment, do this. If we're in that environment, do that. Nobody wants that.
No.
You don't want to do that. So the question is, how simply do we set up two different environments without having to swap JSON files around? And what's the example that you have here, Jeff?
So let me show you just a little bit of code here. I took a standard Blazor server-side rendered bit of code, and I added inside of app settings just a switch here, allow weather false.
Yeah.
Just give me a way to say turn on or turn off the weather page, because just like our friend wrote us, they've got different features they want to turn on and turn off depending on different environments. Right. So let's just set a simple Boolean flag. And I did a check here in the nav menu.
Right.
I'm going to inject configuration. And if allow weather is turned on, show the link. And on the weather page, during onInitialized, check the configuration. And if allow weather is turned off, redirect out. You're not allowed here. Go back to the homepage.
Sounds good.
So really easy to get your arm around. And what this customer was working with was they also had a production version of these sitting out here that had allow weather true. Right. And to come down to our simple sample here. So we don't have anything too different or unique here that's going on, but we want to make sure that we talk through this, because this is actually a key feature that folks can use inside their Blazor applications to take advantage of a little bit of not quite multi-tenant capabilities, but the ability to deploy multiple copies of their application with different configuration options.
Now, we already talked about on Blazor Puzzle how you can have an AppSettings.json for development, one for production, and that's what you're doing with the convention here, production.appsettings.json. But that's different. That's a different environment for production as opposed to development. We're talking about a different environment altogether.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's enough, right? We're going to just take a break right here, and we'll be back with the answer. And of course, if you don't want to know the answer right now, just press pause. Come back later. We'll be here.
So we've seen this kind of thing before, and in this case, the production appsettings.json file that's out there, it's just not in the right naming. The format we like for the naming of these is appsettings environment name.json.
Ah, okay. I thought something was wonky there.
And whatever the environment name is what will be swapped in there. So development, production, those get swapped in easily because we actually have those values hard-coded into launchSettings.json.
Right. So
if you go into your project over here, you look at properties, launchSettings.json, and when you're running locally with .NET Run, this value, I changed it in the solution to production, but this value usually is development.
That's right.
For the ASP.NET Core environment.
Yeah.
So that environment variable you can set on whatever machine, whatever process is launching and running your application. You can, and you don't have to make it development or production, right? We can call this training. I can do that. There you go.
Because those environment variables can also exist in Azure.
Exactly.
Right? You can just set them up in your Azure environment configuration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And those properties that you may want to set to control the behavior, you don't have to set an environment name. You can actually set those configuration values as environment variables as well. So I could just skip defining AllowWeather equals true here and instead put in my launch settings an environment variable that says AllowWeather false. We don't even need the training at this point. It'll just pass along that variable.
Oh, yeah. Okay, sure. Wow.
As configuration, right? Remember, when you reach into the configuration object, when you inject this in our nav menu here, the configuration collection you're looking at isn't just what's declared in app settings. It's also all of the command line arguments that were passed in and all of the environment variables that the running process can see. So there's a lot that you can reach into there. You can also reach in and inspect the host name as a configuration variable because it's available.
That is so cool. You must teach a class on configuration, my friend. Do you?
I might have written a whole chapter about it in my ASP.NET Core book way back in the day when we wrote books.
I remember books. Yeah, books were good.
But
I wrote a couple of those.
I do want to let our viewers out there know I put a little something extra in here for you if you want to tinker with this and explore it a little bit further. Let me go back over to launch settings here and undo the little bit of tweaking we did there.
Right.
Now, when you have multiple environments and you have multiple configuration files, when you're working locally, it's kind of tricky to bounce back and forth between those environments. Or you have multiple browsers open maybe that have, here's your local running version, here's your QA version, running version, here's your staging running version, your training version, and your production version. How do you know which browser is which without looking at the address bar and figuring it out? So what I did, I put together a little ribbon that sits in the corner of my browser.
Look at you.
It just overlays the corner there, but I put it on main layout so that no matter where I am in the application, I know exactly which version I'm looking at.
Which environment you're in.
You got it. So
I like that.
So if I go back here, I'm going to change this back to development. Okay. And I'll just paste that down here, and I'll tell I'll tell Kestrel to restart here.
Mm-hmm.
And now it says development. I added a little bit of CSS that, depending on the environment name, it will change colors. There's a component that I added to this project. If you're a viewer out there and you think this is something you might want to use, you can find it inside the components folder here. There's environment ribbon.razor.
Wow.
And I've got a pair of rules inside the CSS for this that you can grab and change, enhance however you'd like. There's an initial rule here called corner ribbon, and nice. I added a specific version called corner ribbon development that just changes the background color.
That's very cool. So, and, you know, especially during testing, when you're testing all these different environments, that's going to come in really handy. You don't always know, except for the URL.
Combine this with a tool like Playwright, where you can take screenshots when there's an error. If you have that little ribbon in the corner that shows that, hey, this was in the staging environment, it's going to help give that extra little bit of context to where the problem occurred, what environment it was, which is going to lead you to what configuration was in play as well.
Jeff, that's wicked smart. Awesome.
Thanks a lot, Becca.
Awesome. Hey, that's the Blazor puzzle for today. And if you've got a puzzle, whether or not you have a solution, send it to us by email at blazorpuzzle@appsettings.com. And if we use it on the air, we are going to send you a Blazor puzzle mug.
Fantastic.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Catch you later, friends.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out blazortrain.com and the .NETshow.com for more great content.